Life to get through. Um, yep, let's do this. Welcome, everyone, to the December 2018 Wikimedia Monthly Activities Meeting. My name is Lincoln. I am actually our host for this meeting. So I, as you can see, am a dog. I generally work in the communications den, but I decided to try out something new and be our host. So I hope you enjoy our lovely host experience. Because I'm a dog, I might move around. We're not sure how this is going to go, but there we go. So there. Hi everyone. My name's Lincoln. Welcome. So we're going to get started. This month is a little bit different, which is also why we have me hosting. Unlike most of our months, we're actually going to jump kind of right into our lightning talks. We really want to hear from folks who have done some great things. I've been hearing about it in the comms den all year long, and so I finally decided I wanted to have my friends share some of their knowledge with others. So we're going to jump right in and skip past all the movement updates and other things that we normally do because as a dog, I have a very short attention span and don't want to hear any of those things. So we're going to jump right into a presentation about special preferences, the special preferences user experience improvements page. So let's jump right over to my friend Volker, who's going to talk about that, and I will be back shortly.
Volker, I'm afraid we can't hear you. We're restarting, just a moment.
So, as you can see, sometimes we have technical difficulties, and that's okay. Listen, as a dog, I appreciate challenges. I know all about challenges. I know how these things go. I watch you people. I see how hard you work. All you humans out there trying hard. Now we're restarting. I don't even know if we're broadcasting anymore. We are. Good. That's Trey. As a dog, I don't really know what's going on anyway. I just sort of assume technology is moving quickly. You are in the right meeting, yes. So this is the monthly activities meeting hosted by Lincoln. And we are temporarily experiencing some technical difficulties with our remote setup. We will return shortly, but we hope in the meantime you are enjoying the view of our lovely guests and our agenda and our host, me, Lincoln. My hobbies include spending time on Dogbook. Okay, Volker, we are ready to try again if you would like to.
Okay.
There we go. I can hear you. Perfect.
Wonderful. Hi, my name is Volker. I'm a senior UX engineer on Audiences design team, and I'm leading user interface standardization efforts in the foundation. Let me very quickly guide you through the why and what of a successful 6+ month team effort to improve and roll out special preferences. Next slide, please. Special preferences is one of the first pages visited by new contributors and has seen uncoordinated additions and changes over several years, resulting in a somewhat intimidating piece of software, both for our user experience and code. I will focus here mostly on the interface parts, while the code has been vastly enhanced as well by changing to our standard library OUI and removing artifacts. We've rolled out the improved settings page on Wikimedia projects end of September. Have you already checked it out? If not, please do so. It was the biggest interface change for contributors on desktop since page previews and recent changes, with close to zero critical feedback ever since. Next slide, please. You've already seen this slide last month. Design team members agreed to show it in every activities meeting from now on to keep you engaged. Those design principles have been guidelines for our work. Click. Yes, and we're going to the accomplished how section, to the next slide. So how did we accomplish the positive rollout? Speaking to the principle of open collaboration, users got involved early in the design process, bringing them on the same page with us. and with our goals. We kept them continuously informed throughout, and we quickly integrated volunteer feedback. Quality assurance at the end was an important polishing factor as well. Next slide, please. So what has changed? This is the before. You will see a bit of a minority report representation because such form does not fit in a normal landscape slide. Click, please. Here I have added some nifty red arrows for emphasis of different flaws in the user interface. Next slide. What we have now is easy usable. It matches the expectations of newcomers and less technical savvy segment of our audience. It's more accessible, it's more inclusive, as this is meant for everyone. And the third principle, being trustworthy, goes hand in hand with the fourth one, design for consistency. Interface consistency is helping users to reduce cognitive load, reducing complexity to free them up for their important tasks. Our interface is now consistent with different parts of the Wikimedia software. And I'm already coming to the next slide. We're not stopping there. This layout by my colleague Pao shows you that we're continuously improving. We aim for a better experience for newly registered users, clearer separation of topics. This is around the corner. And the last slide. From the feedback received on a page with 100,000 plus page views per month on English Wikipedia only, there were 4 tasks created since the rollout with minor UI ideas, 3 of them resolved in the meantime. No critical voices on Village Bump. And who else of you gets so many hearts on a Fabricator task? Thank you very much.
All right, Volker, thank you so much for getting us started off. That was a great example of how a lightning talk goes. They are 2 to 5 minute talks, and we have a whole bunch of them. So next, we have, and I'm super excited, no greater power than the power of women united in a women tech storm. Let's get going.
Hi, I'm Sil. I'm a volunteer at Wikimedia Netherlands. And back in 2017, we got a huge donation that was for the project Gender Gap and the project Nature. And we, as a project Gender Gap, decided to do 2 hackathons aimed especially for women and non-binary people. We had a pilot in May, a small hackathon, a warm and welcoming one, especially for people new to the movement. We had 18 participants out of 12 countries, and people worked on Wikidata mainly. Next slide, please. Next slide. But one single event does not create retention, so a successor was planned in May already. We learned a few things from our May hackathon. We made sure we had enough local mentors available for questions during the tech storm. So mentors were not working on projects themselves, but were actually available, and we wanted to lower the barrier for people to ask their questions. We had a picture wall as well with Polaroids of the mentors up with their names and with their specialities. We communicated more clearly to the participants that are new and encouraged everybody to ask their questions. And we had Fabricator as a collaboration tool and had very easy tasks prepared. So we had a low barrier for them to cross. We aimed for 3 different groups of people. Developers who already were active as developers, but not yet within the Wikimedia projects. Second group was Wikimedians who were active within the community, but not yet as developers. And in the October tech storm, we had employees of GLAM institutions who want to learn more about uploads and working with Wikimedia software, so they could know what we as a movement have to offer. We had 300 applications when we closed, and we invited 45 people, and decided to include a few males as well this time. The participants were from 14 countries and 4 continents, actually. People worked on Wikisite, Wikidata, and the Commons app. Next slide, please. Of the 35 participants, 27 people completed our survey, and the TechStorm overall got an average rating of 4.45 out of 5 points. We have a follow-up event planned for March the 9th in Utrecht, the one-day hackathon at WikiCon NL, which is the new version of the Dutch Wiki Conference. It's on the 8th and 9th of March, and we hope to do another Wiki TechStorm by the end of 2019. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. That was fantastic. So next we have a presentation. We're actually going to skip this one. This one we're going to do next month. And so we're going to talk about blogs, and blogs in a bunch of languages I as a dog don't know how to say. So with that, blogs.
All right, hi everyone. I'm Trey Jones. I'm a software engineer on the search platform team. And today I want to discuss my efforts this year in non-technical communication about technical topics, particularly through the Wikimedia blog. Next slide, please. I think it's important and valuable for us as technical folks to share information and insights from our work in a way that non-specialists can appreciate. So in addition to the technical write-ups I do for most of my work, I sometimes write posts for the Wikimedia blog. I think these posts provide a valuable communication channel to colleagues inside the foundation, to members of various wiki communities, and even farther afield to those outside the movement. Next slide, please. I try to write a blog post every month or so, and this year I came pretty close to that with 5 posts covering general Wikimedia support for languages with multiple writing systems, the difficulties associated with searching for names, and the first 3 parts of a 5 or 6 part deep dive into the details of how search works under the hood. Next slide, please. So I have some quick advice for those of you who want to try your hand at blogging on technical topics. It definitely can be challenging to find the right balance between including technical details and keeping your writing accessible. But if you pick a topic you know really well and already love talking about, you'll be fine. Try to keep things as simple as you can, and think of the digital comms team as beta testers for your blog post. They provide you with an interested and engaged but non-specialist audience, and they're willing and able to give you really good feedback. And for me, it's been really great and very useful to work with Melody and Ned. Also, I think it's a good idea to let your personality and your passion for your topic show through in your writing. A bit of humor and some brief nerdy tangents, for example, can liven up a somewhat dry topic and keep your readers reading. Next slide, please. If you think blogging isn't yet for you, there are certainly other opportunities to communicate and engage with people. For example, I like to write short to medium length blurbs for the Did You Know section of our weekly status report. They cover interesting linguistic or computational tidbits about language, often related to recent work that we've done. Also, you can consider recording talks and presentations you do internally when they might be interesting or useful to others. This year, for example, I recorded a presentation giving a high-level overview of how search works, and Guillaume Lederer, who is an operations engineer on the search platform team, recorded a great presentation on code refactoring. These talks are available on Commons, and I've been able to point people to my presentation as a way for them to ramp up on the basic internals of search, for example. Also, if you have a chance to be on a podcast, I suggest you take it. It's an easy way to talk about what you do in a more conversational setting. Next slide, please. So I found these various kinds of less technical communication help us keep people inside and outside the foundation informed about and engaged with our work. They encourage feedback and questions that can lead to really useful conversations. And they can even serve as high-level documentation that you can refer people to in the future. On a personal note, I want to add that it's very rewarding to hear positive feedback on your blogs and other information sharing efforts. So if you see something you'd like on a blog, on the Wikimedia blog or somewhere else, be sure to let the author know. And finally, here's some links available to some of the stuff I talked about today, and these should be available when the slides make it to Commons. That's it for me. Thanks.
All right, round of applause. Thank you. As somebody who often takes food from the blog team, I can tell you that, yes, they do indeed love hearing from folks and want to hear from all of you. And with that, we want to hear about the next topic, which is advancing gender equity, conversations with movement leaders, and what did we learn this year?
Should I stand here or over there? Okay. I'm Alex. I work on the community resources team. I'm going to tell you about a project that we've been working on the last year and a half called Advancing Gender Equity, Conversations with Movement Leaders. First, can I get a show of hands to see how many of you think that you can define gender across the Wikimedia movement? Anybody? Nobody. Right. So let's see. Here we go. Our traditional notion of addressing the gender gap and what it takes to actually close it is really, about getting more women participants in our projects and getting more coverage of women on the projects as well. But this is an incredibly simplistic version of what our local Wikimedians are facing when they're working on projects on the ground. So in 2017, user Rosie Stepp embarked on a series of really interesting conversations across the movement with leaders and volunteers who are working to support more gender equity. She did 65 interviews with folks from 29 countries that speak 26 different languages. And what became increasingly clear, throughout her conversations was that the notions of gender are so culturally imbued. And the idea of addressing the gender gap so culturally specific and nuanced, much more than we had even imagined before. So how do you work on gender projects when there are no shared definitions across the movement? Or how do you even talk about it when there are no common terms? But despite these differences, what we did find was that there was a lot of shared reality amongst gender equity leaders in our movement. They are motivated by recording the histories of the marginalized, by expanding what the notion of a participant on our project means, and by building solidarity and allies. They develop community by meeting offline and in person. They initiate impactful partnerships with experts in gender issues, and they also create inclusionary practices, which include safe spaces online and offline, as well as recognizing that advancing equity is an intersectional effort that goes much beyond just gender. But they also face very similar challenges. Obviously, poor community health is one. Another is a lack of institutional support and awareness about gender issues. And then the number one issues that they faced across the board, across the movement, across the globe, is bias in policies, especially notability policies. So while these leaders came from very diverse contexts, they're facing very similar cultural and structural barriers to their work. They also are doing incredible work in their communities, and they need more support. So if you want to learn more about what came out of these conversations and what we learned, you can read more about it in the report on Meta.
All right, big round of applause. And I know from talking to all of you that you're all working diligently on Wikimedia 2030. So let's hear from the Wikimedia 2030 team on the update for the Movement Strategy Core Team. I just like looking at that graphic. There we go.
Hi, everyone. My name is Sebaglad Douglas, Information Knowledge Support of the Movement Strategy Core Team. For this December monthly activities meeting, we are introducing Agents of Change. Agents of Change are working group members who are behind the scenes in the movement strategy process. We are going to know why they joined the groups and what they have been doing in their respective working groups. Marwan Salam from the Community Health Working Group has been contributing to Wikimedia projects since 2012, working on more than 100,000 edits in the Arabic Wikipedia, and contributing to over 1,400 articles in Arabic. She's an admin in Arabic Wikipedia and co-founder of Wikimedians of the Levant user group. Handing over to Salam.
Hello, everyone. Hello. So, being a contributor to the movement strategy, I thought that coming up with a strategy for the next decade is a responsibility for everyone. So I'm proud to be a member of this movement. I want to take a part in the work that we need by everyone, by every participant to come up with the intended strategy. So I chose the community health group to work with them, and we have already started the work, and we made some progress, and I know that the other work groups also are making good progress into defining their scopes and objectives. So for now, we have a well-established work group, the community health one, and it includes a diversity of Wikimedians and experts. They represent different communities, geographical location, cultures, different genders, and all of them are keen to achieve the major goal of the group, and they are all related to the objective we are working towards getting or achieving. For now, we have, we have met, or we always meet bi-weekly to work on a specific point, let's say. One of the challenges we always have is that we are in different time zones, so gathering all in one meeting is not always possible, but we always share our meeting minutes and our thoughts using Google Docs, and we always contribute to the thoughts and ideas we summarize in each meeting. One of the major things we have done so far is that we were able to define what community health means. So this was done in a brainstorming session that was controlled and managed by an external facilitator. So we were able to put some good ideas about what community health means. And from these ideas, we are deriving the scope. For now, we have summarized everything in a clustered way, and everyone is contributing to these ideas, these definitions, to come up with a cohesive, let's say, scope for the next steps we are going to work on. So this is, I think, what we will be working on in the next month, doing the scope, defining the critical roles in the communities, and providing support to return people within these roles and responsibilities. Also, we need to agree on the future perspective of the engaging and including of newcomers in a sustainable manner. And I think this can be done by answering a few questions like, how do we as a movement define the term community? So we also welcome any contributions from anyone in this context. How can we ensure that our communities are places that people want to be in and participate in, and how we can make them stay? And how do we engage and support people that have been left out by structures or by powers and privileges? And we also want to know how we can either prioritize or balance the need to bring new community members into our movement and meet the expectations of existing contributors. What strategies can the movement develop for their constitutions to better balance huge workloads within their personal health as well, because this affects the community health in general? We are moving forward with the scoping exercise. This will be done in the coming weeks, where we have to document, or based on the documented, let's say, clusters that we have, we will discuss the following. We will discuss the group culture and behavior, participation, resources and processes, structure and decision making, and thinking open-minded. So this is my summary about what we do in one of the work groups that work behind putting on or coming up with the movement strategy. Thank you.
Just to sum it all up. Sorry, just to sum it all up, thank you so much, Marwat, for taking time for us. When you have agents of change like Marwat, I'm sure that recommendations are going to be awesome and we can all be assured of a very, very good strategic thinking. As always, we would love feedback. Please tell us what is it that we are not considering, what is it that we don't know, and please help us in preparing these structural recommendations for the benefit of the entire movement. For more details, you can, the next slide, please. For more details, you could reach out to any one of us. We would like to meet you across events, across different kinds of community activities, and hopefully we would be able to get your feedback from the scoping documents that are in pipeline and also during the Wikimedia Summit in March. So thank you so much. Thank you for your support. That's all from the movement strategy team for the month of December. Thank you.
Ooh, let's give the core team a round of applause. So just in case you are just joining us, my name is Lincoln. I am a dog. I am hosting our activities meeting this month, and let me tell you, it's rough work. It's hard work. I'm going to already need to take a break for the rest of the day. But before I get to my break, I want to introduce Josh, who's going to give us a product planning update.
I'm going to sit down and read because of the limited time. I have a tendency to ramble if I go freeform. All right. So I wanted to share an update on our product planning process, where we're working from our high-level strategy, synthesizing research data, and trying to create a shared set of understanding so that we can go into medium-term planning with a sort of a baseline to build on. For staff, in the staff breakfast this morning, you heard about the overall foundation prioritization planning process that's coming up or is sort of in progress. Here I'm just going to be focusing on what the audience department has been doing to prepare for that process, especially given that we're trying to be more farsighted and more strategically focused in our planning. So next slide. So, the colors. All right. If you haven't seen this slide before, this is our process in Triforce form. If you're not a part of the high rule chapter, you might also know it as a pyramid or triangle. Anyway, this model is basically how we want to go from the most abstract, high-level, long-term thinking to specific roadmaps and plans, and to be able to show our work and how the chain of inference and decision-making goes from one to the other, so we don't have feature plans that are totally disconnected from our high-level goals and aspirations. Roughly, as you go up the pyramid, you get from big and abstract, the 15-year time horizon of the movement strategy, through to very specific and much shorter time horizons. So a roadmap, for example, would be a few quarters into the future, and you would change that on a much faster cycle, whereas hopefully you're not changing your principles every quarter. And the planning that we're working towards right now, the 3 to 5 year time frame, is right smack in the middle, as you can kind of see if you can read the chart. So next slide. So that's the overall view. Oh, there's a slide missing. Can you go back? That's okay. I'll just do it all off the slide. Somehow one of my slides got. But so I wanted to also kind of give you an update of how we're climbing the pyramid and timelines. So the movement strategy gave us a set of big goals and a ton of research on the current context. We've also been doing a lot of important research projects internally to the audiences department and as cross-department programs like new readers and new editors. And so the first step for us was to synthesize all of that into some sort of coherent set of points of view and sort of takes on these issues and try to collect all of that into a sensible set of narratives. That just started with developing our principles, which I presented at the September metrics meeting. And then Margay, who is our head of design research and strategy, in parallel has been working through a process to kind of map out the research space and the questions that come in, that we need to be able to answer. And she created 6 key themes. That sort of collection and synthesis on those 60 themes has now been published in MediaWiki. There's a link in the next slide and a QR code, but I'll get to that. And we're still working on some of the details and formatting. There's still a little bit of work to do, but they're there for you to read and engage with, and they're available for anyone, not just staff. And we look forward to having you read those and engage with them. That process was really a very Wikimedian process. We had multiple authors on every document. Everything is hopefully very well cited and based on research and sort of collaboratively written and edited. There was a bit more editorial oversight than there is on some stuff on Wiki, but hopefully it reflects that in its format. And please read and ask questions, but I also want to say this is really not like an engagement or consultation process. It's really a chance for us to basically communicate, taking in all this information, all this feedback, and sort of taking our turn in the dialogue, and saying, here's what we think is going on and what we would like to do. And as you can see in the pyramid, now is the time to move from those perspectives, which are published on Wiki, to generating a set of proposals. So audience and staff have received an invite to basically submit initial proposals. Those proposals are really short. They're in the form of a story, and the story is, we should build X for our users Y so that we can solve their problem Z and achieve goal A1. So basically, you're filling in the blanks. And it's very limiting, but it's an important way to start our conversation where we're focused on our users, on their needs, and what we should do for them, and then how all of that relates to our bigger goals. This will also, as much as possible, hopefully give us a set of comparable ideas. And there's a little bit more to the proposal format, but that kind of gives you a sense of what we're trying to get together. If you're not in audiences, please reach out to a partner within audiences or me, and we'll see if we can work with you on submitting a proposal. We don't do this to exclude our peers, but because the proposals are going to go through an evaluation and discussion process within audiences, and if you don't have an internal advocate, we're afraid that you might not get a fair hearing or get understood. So again, we're not trying to exclude other people's ideas, but if you do have an idea, I really recommend you to find someone within the audience department. It can be an engineer, a designer, product manager, anybody to help you guide you through that process and kind of be your internal advocate. And then the next step with all of this, as you can kind of see from the triangle, is to move from the proposals to a sort of a rich backlog of potential projects and things to work on, and to bring those to the organizational level planning process. As the planners kind of talked about this morning, that process will be driven by strategic goals and cross-organizational plans and goals, but we wanted to have an informed library of ideas to bring to that conversation rather than having to go do a bunch of this stuff sort of, as people were trying to put the ideas together into a coherent plan. So that's where we are. Next slide. And if you want to engage with either of those things, on the left is perspectives, which again are available on MediaWiki for anyone to view and read. And then on the right is for proposals, and that's on Office Wiki, so you gotta be on staff for that. And I think that's it.
Great, let's have a round of applause. And during that presentation, I was diligently working on my application for the Doggos Association. We are trying super hard to get a new grant application in, which is great timing because I do want to hear about the impact of our grants, and I'm going to take a rest from the application for just a minute and hear about the impact of Wikimedia Foundation grants beyond the usual metrics.
Hello. Hi, everyone. I'm Sati. I sit on the Community Resources team with Alex in Community Engagement, and I'm going to tell you a story about impact. So every year in September, volunteers from around the world engage in an international competition, a photo competition called Wiki Loves Monuments, where they go around their country and they photograph monuments. And in September of 2014, our Nepalese volunteers held their local contest, and they took this photo of Dharahara Tower in Kathmandu. Now, their local contest resulted in about 1,000 photos, and the international competition, which we funded through a grant, resulted in about 300,000 photos uploaded to Commons. Now, in all of my years at the foundation, these metrics are the ways that we judge success or value of project and ideas. It's the kind of impact that we celebrate the most. But unbeknownst to all of us, 7 months later, in April of 2015, Nepal would be hit by a magnitude 8 earthquake that would devastate the country. And unbeknownst to all of us, this is what would be left of Darahara Tower at that point. At the Wikimedia conference, a Nepalese volunteer told me this story. And he said that in 2014, they thought about the success of their project by those 1,000 photos. And in 2015, when he looked around his country and he realized that all those monuments that they had photographed were gone. And he realized that the impact of that competition was that they had preserved their cultural heritage, heritage that was literally there one day and gone the next. And I believe this story is indicative of a blind spot that we've developed as a foundation when we think about impact. We've forgotten that impact spans the transactional to the transformational. It includes those metrics that we know and love, but it goes beyond them. It goes beyond the things that we can understand in the short term, even capture. It includes the things like the revitalization of minority languages in a digital age by investing in creating the Unicode for a language when it doesn't exist. It includes the restoration of cultural pride or the reconnection with your cultural identity when it's been repressed or oppressed over generations. And it's because of this blind spot that I've spent the last year working with a wonderful woman from Australia named Lindsay to understand what are those long-term transformational outcomes of grants. We've given out about $40 million in the last 5 years. So what has happened when we don't look at the short term and we look at the long term, when we engage in trying to investigate those long-term ripple effects where causality is a little less important? And one of the things we found was that grants have played a role in enabling humanity to partake in our collective cultural heritage. Now that's very dense, and this is a lightning talk, so I can't tell you all the details on it. But just to orient you, to use UNESCO's definition of cultural heritage, there are two broad types. One is tangible cultural heritage, the things that we can document. And the other one is intangible cultural heritage, the things that we have to experience. So to give you a very quick example, eating food is very different than seeing a picture of food. And so the picture is the tangible cultural heritage, but the experience of tasting those flavors, the texture of the food, that's the experiential part that's intangible. And grants have played a role in enabling communities to work on pursuing their cultural heritage and enabling them to preserve it, others to engage with it, and it to enter and continue on through generations. But that's not the only thing we found. So if you want to learn more, I would invite you to go look at our space on Meta. It's still a work in progress, obviously, but we've been putting up different stories about the different kinds of outcomes we've found, some around cultural heritage, some around building community, some around diversity and inclusion or the free knowledge ecosystem. So I'd invite you to take a look. It's obviously still a work in progress, so, but I'm interested to see what you think. Thank you.
So as a puppy, I spend a lot of time showing gratitude and giving thanks. For example, I've been very thankful to Joe Sutherland for videoing me and making me look like a dog, as opposed to what I might otherwise look like, which is a terrifying morning beast. Anyway, so with that, we often realize that we don't always give thanks to each other enough, and I'm super excited to hear more about this next activity and next project where we gave thanks. So let's hear about giving thanks.
Yeah, thanks so much. My name is Leila Zia. I'm a senior research scientist in Wikimedia Foundation's research team and the tech lead of the team. And I'm here only briefly to introduce Swati Goel to you. She's a third-year high school student, a returning volunteer researcher to the research team. And she worked with us this past summer on exactly the problem of thanks. Her mentors were myself and also Ashton Anderson from University of Toronto. And she's going to be sharing with you what she learned by studying thanks.
Yeah, so hi, we're going to talk about the Thanks Research Project. So first of all, there are 14 edits per second across Wikipedia, and that's a lot. Next slide, please. And yeah, so it's a little hard to believe that showing gratitude towards these edits used to be very difficult. Next slide. And then in 2013, the thanks feature was rolled out, and it provided editors a quick and easy way to thank each other for specific revisions without having it be entirely public. Next slide. So as an example of how the thanks feature works, you can go to the revision history of any page and then click, please. And you can click on the thanks for any specific revisions. And you will be able to send a thank message to the other user, which they will be able to see. And there will also be a public log of that thank, although not of the specific revision it was for. Next, please. All right, so we studied thanks, and now I'm going to talk a little bit about what specifically we learned about them. Next, please. Across all projects, only 5% of editors have sent or received thanks. Among all those editors, the more active editors use thanks more frequently. And interestingly, if you look at the graph of who's thanking who, you'll see that thanks are typically sent upwards. So less experienced editors typically thank more experienced editors more often, with a few notable interesting exceptions. Next, please. And so to talk more about the disparity in thanks, more experienced editors are thanked more often. And in absolute numbers, the top 20% of editors are thanked 260 times more than the bottom 20% of editors. Next, please. Also, the thanks feature, though it still has a limited scope, as we said, its usage has increased over time. And this upward trend exists even in projects in which the total number of editors has actually decreased. So you see still a small percentage of people that are using thanks, but that percentage is growing. Next, please. And so why does this matter? It matters because we studied thanks and we found that thanks significantly increase motivation. So thanked editors consistently have higher edit counts the day after receiving a thank when compared to their unthanked peers. Next, please. And so we would leave you to consider making the feature more easily discoverable by editors, or if you are an editor, giving thanks, since it actually does have a lot of impact on editor motivation across all levels of editor engagement. All right, next, please. And thank you. And the link to the research page is at the bottom if you would like to see more.
All right, round of applause. Thank you. And in the spirit of thanks, look at the person next to you and thank them. And if you are watching remote, take a moment and thank yourself for all of your work this last year. But take a second, thank the person next to you for all of their work this year. It's been a great year.
Hi.
All right.
So actually, I'm going to have a few people to thanks for my presentation.
So with that, let the thanks be with you. There's no churchgoers in the room who got the joke of "and also with you," but okay, good, a couple. So with that, our last lightning talk before we get into some wiki love, so start thinking about your year-end wiki love, is performance perception survey and research collaboration.
All right. Hi. So I work on the performance team, and one of the issues we discovered recently is that there's actually very little research done on how people actually perceive performance. And so we figured we would do some of our own. Next slide, please. Yes, so with the help of the community relations team, we identified 3 wikis originally that would be potentially interested in running a microsurvey for us. And so this microsurvey, you see some screenshots of it in English and Russian, appears at the top right of Wikipedia articles. And so initially we asked French Wikipedia, Catalan, and English Wikivoyage if they'd be interested. All the communities were interested, so it started there. And as we were doing our work openly on Fabricator, a community member of Russian Wikipedia, St. John, showed up in our discussion and said, hey, why don't you guys run this on Russian Wikipedia as well? And with his help, he actually is also the person who translated the messages for the survey. We got it running on Russian Wikipedia, and in the end, it was the most useful wiki for the study because it had more traffic than all the other ones we had considered. And so, so this has been running since June, and we've been doing a lot of research on it, but I can only talk about the simple results at this point. Next slide, please. Which is very good news, which is that 89% of the time when people are asked about the page that just loaded, they say that it's fast enough, which is the question we were asking. And that figure has been very stable. It's been very stable through performance incidents, through the data center switchover, through fundraising campaigns, which are all events that we thought before might affect people's perception of how fast the page load, especially the banners that load late. And that doesn't appear to be the case, which is interesting news. And that's why we had to do more in-depth research about this. So I found external researchers who are interested in collaboration. And thanks to the support of the legal department and research teams, which I would like to thank, along with community relations that all made that possible, we actually wrote a research paper together, which will be released early next year with a lot of very interesting findings. And that's it. Thank you.
Fantastic. So with that, are there questions? Is there some discussion? It doesn't look like there's any questions in IRC, although if you're in IRC and listening to this, now is your time to type it. I'm looking around the room. Do I see anyone in the room? Is there anyone in the room? And I don't see any hands. I'm looking back in the corner. I'll give you a pause. All right, I'm not seeing any questions or discussion in any. James, are we good on IRC? Nothing on IRC? All right. So with that, this is a meeting that, especially moving forward, we very much want people to give presentations. This was a great example this month. Thank you again to everyone who gave a lightning talk. So one more round of applause for that group. And if you would like to give a talk in the future, simply go to this page on Meta and sign up. It is that simple. Your talk can be 5 minutes, it can be 25 minutes. They don't always go the lightning talk format, but definitely sign up there. We want to hear about your activities. So with that, let us jump into my favorite part, which is WikiLove. And I'm actually going to start off as giving some WikiLove on behalf of all the dogs to our facilities team, as well as our talent and culture team, and everyone at the foundation who helps work to make sure that doggos like me can come into the office. If you've never been to the office, it's not unusual to see a dog in the office, and it's thanks to those people's work, both with our building and with each other. So thank you very much. I would like to start that as the first WikiLove from the doggos. With that, who else has some WikiLove? If you have some in the IRC, just go ahead and say it, and James will repeat it. If you're here in the office, just come on up to the microphone. Great.
Hey there. I just wanted to give thanks to the foundation. Here in SF, we had major air quality issues during the fire. This is the second year and certainly worse. Last year we had the Santa Rosa fires and air masks, particle filters sold out immediately, and it was the same this year, but the foundation was prepared and had a ton of them here in the office for people who were commuting in through the smoke. And I really appreciated that. It made me feel like the foundation really cares about us and was prepared. I don't know how Robert got them. Maybe he fought people at Ace Hardware, but we got them, and that was awesome. So thank you.
Hello, Dario here. Some of you know we hosted our third annual event in Berkeley, the Wikisite conference. It was the largest, the most awesome so far. But I'm here to thank every single person who's been helping, and I have 217 people, so hopefully you'll be patient until I go through this. This was actually a moment of realization when I figured how many people have helped with the event. Yeah, so there we go. Brendan in OIT for helping with live streaming the network. Pam and Megan and Jenna and Maren and Unita with contracts and reimbursements. Doreen with scholarships and travel. Jim, Leanna in legal for our surveys and privacy statements. Joe, James, and Rachel for your help with a code of conduct. Caitlin and Jonathan for funding. Ben, Jake, Alexa, and Sandra, as well as Asaf in CE. For helping out in a variety of tasks, including the keynote, and Catherine herself for participating, giving amazing closing keynote on the first day. All the staffers from Wikimedia Foundation and Wikimedia Deutschland who participated and helped out. All the managers who allowed everyone to participate and help out. All the volunteers who contributed. We had, like I said, 115 people in total who attended this year. The Alfred Stone Foundation for sponsoring the event. And last but not least, Irene and Sarah, who worked an insane amount of time to make this happen. So thank you all. This wouldn't happen without your help.
Any other wiki love? Any wiki love on IRC? All right. Anyone else?
I get them.
Oh, great. Go ahead.
Yes. I wanted to share some wiki love. Sorry. At the last activities meeting, but I didn't get through. So wiki love for the people involved in the changes that I've presented, which has been a powerful work through by Bartosz, Ed Sanders, James Forrester, people on the design team, and also especially because they are so humble, I want to make a shout out to Elena and Romana for the quality assurance that saves so many of our users headaches upfront, and us developers and designers a wonderful polishing ability. So that's great. Thanks for that.
Hello. I want to take a break from filming our host today to just thank everybody who's ever translated anything for anyone at the foundation, or just translated anything on Meta or on MediaWiki or any of the other websites. We really struggle to get messages out there that aren't in English, just because the majority of us speak English. So it's really, really helpful when people step up to translate, normally totally on their own volition. So thanks to everybody who's ever done that. So.
From IRC, passing on from Jody, wiki love to the advancement and fundraising tech teams for all the amazing work they do during the season of giving.
I want to give wiki love to my team for different reasons, but we've had a lot of people out during the course of this year. Like, I got to take a sabbatical, other people got to take sabbaticals, and I think our team really stepped in, did things outside of their job to cover people so people could take a break. And I really think that I mean, as someone who took a sabbatical, that was amazing. So just like a thank you to my teammates for being a team. Thanks.
Anyone else? Great, here we go.
All right, so I wanted to give wiki love to 3 teams, the legal team, the community engagement team, as well as the security team in tech. This past 6 months, they've been battling a number of cyber attacks against our website, quite serious ones. And some of you, will have seen some of the impact of that. For example, for a little while there, with Disabled Translate Wiki, you will see bits and pieces of the work that they're doing to defend the sites. Folks have been, working around the clock, really kind of, going above and beyond, meeting on Sundays, late evenings, to try and make progress. I just wanted to share a big thank you for all the hard work that they've been doing. Our sites are up and people enjoy them, but there is a lot of unseen work, and security work is of that variety. I also wanted to thank the administrators and stewards in our communities that have been very patient and collaborating with us as we've been trying to kind of raise kind of the bar, if you like, on the kind of protections that we have available. I know that sometimes it causes breaks in workflows, but we really appreciate their hard work and collaboration in getting this done. So a big thank you from me. Oh, and a big thank you to Lincoln for moderating today. You should do it more often, right? It's the best.
Another one.
Well, thank you.
See, Delphine says, I want to send wiki love to all the people who take on emotional labor in our movement, those who support difficult conversations, help untangle complicated relations, offset the lack of empathy of certain situations. They often go unnoticed and unseen. Thank you.
So I will pause here. Get it. Thank you. And see if there's anyone else who wants to give wiki love. Otherwise, in the spirit of the season of giving, I will encourage everyone to give some wiki love to someone by the end of the holiday break. So that's your doggo challenge. So with that, thank you all so much for attending the end of year metrics or monthly activities meeting. See if we can get a little greeting. You've all been fantastic. Thank you very much, and we will see you next year.